Hello, friends and family. As Nate and I thought about reaching out to each of you to share about the latest findings and impact with regards to Miguel and his medical issues, realized that we'd be having the same conversation over and over again. And not only is it a complex and complicated conversation, it's also a really hard one for us to have. So decided that I would try to do a video where maybe I'd be able to explain a little bit about what's going on, and then we can talk individually about the impact on different things, whether it's for him going to school or in terms of his therapies or recovery and things of that nature. But most of you who will be seeing this have been on this journey with us for years, if not from the very beginning. You all are part of our extended family. We know how much you love Miguel. We appreciate so much the community that we have around us of support for us and for Miguel. And it really is Team Miguel, and we feel it. And so we thank you for all of that, from the very beginning. So with that, Miguel this past week was diagnosed with something called ARSA. ARSA stands for Aberrant Right Subclavian Artery. I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. And this is causing him to gag and choke when he eats. And we believe that he has always, been gagging and choking because of this. And we know that he's always struggled with eating in general. In the past, we've always been told that it's behavioral. Turns out that it's not. There are other issues that we know that he has with his GI tract and neurological issues and whatnot that are unrelated to this. But with regards to him eating and choking and struggling to eat, this is likely a big part of that. Additionally, kids that have ARSA apparently also have problems not just with eating and swallowing, but also with their airway. It's something that I didn't really think that Miguel had airway issues until I started to speak with the surgeons at Johns Hopkins University and Hospital, and they were explaining that what happens is that when kids have ARSA, the trachea actually collapses in on itself, and it means that kids tend to, when they get sick for longer. They tend to get sick, perhaps more severely sick, if you will, than other kids with the same virus, tend to get croup, tend to have a need for medications to treat that, etc. And it's something that we've actually asked doctors for many years whether he has immune issues, because we've seen just how sick he gets when he gets sick. And every time that they test him, they say, nope, he's fine, and this is just Miguel, and that's that, right? Turns out it's not. So the good thing is that it looks like we have some answers, and it looks like there is a way to help him. The very scary thing for us is that it is something that is a major surgery, and there's still a lot of things that we need to figure out between now and then. And the doctors want to get him in basically as soon as possible, which is good, but also a bit of a whirlwind for us as we try to figure this all out. So just so that you all understand, because you're probably wondering what the heck is this, I drew this out. This is something that the doctors drew out and explained to us, and for those of you that are curious to seek to understand. So basically, this is what a normal inside look from the top to the bottom looks like. So this is the spine, this is the esophagus. The esophagus is very flexible. This is the trachea. The trachea tends to be like a U shape, and then it has a membrane on the bottom that tends to go in and out when people cough, but not very much in and out. Then you have the aorta up here, and you have the right subclavian and the left subclavian, and then they subdivide into the carotid arteries on each side. So that's normal. It's all stacked together, beautiful, works, great, for the vast majority of people. In the case of Miguel, he has what's called ARSA. So he's got his spine, he's got his aorta, and then he's got the left subclavian over here, and the right subclavian, instead of coming out here, actually comes out from here, and it circles around, okay, behind the esophagus and the trachea. So all the way behind, kind of close to where the spine is, or right next to the spine. And because it's an artery, it's actually very hard, right? It's not flexible like these other things. So it essentially pushes the trachea and compresses it to be smaller, and it really compresses the esophagus. So now kids with this have trouble with breathing, and they have trouble with swallowing and all sorts of things related to that. So, the fix, I'm gonna put it simply, but it's not, I don't think, at all simple, although I'm sure cardiologists might disagree. But it's the spine, and they basically take that artery and they cut it from here and move it to the side where it's supposed to and reattach it. And then they take the trachea and they fix it and expand it, but because it's so used to collapsing, they actually essentially suture it to the spine so that it can't collapse anymore physically. And then because the esophagus is flexible within all this, they actually move it over so that it has plenty of space. It's actually moved. So that is essentially what the doctors are proposing to do for Miguel. The date in which that's scheduled is November 15th. It's about a week recovery in the hospital. We will be flying to Johns Hopkins to do that. In advance of that surgery, there's a whole lot of stuff that we need to do, including getting, seeing a cardiologist for an echo. We need to go to Johns Hopkins to get a bronchoscopy, EGD, and other basically tests that need to get done to take a look in detail at his airway and his esophagus and his anatomy, determine if this is the right surgery for him, and path forward. We meet with the surgeons and all that stuff. And so, and that is middle of October. And, in terms of going to Johns Hopkins, and then, some appointments here in Atlanta before we go down that way. So all this to say that, we believe, and the surgeons believe, that this is something that's going to significantly improve Miguel's quality of life. That's why we're, considering moving forward with this. I'm sure you all have questions. We have questions. I don't know answers to a lot of things yet. We are drinking from the fire hose, as they say, and really having to go up a steep learning curve on this, because we have learned a lot about GI, but we have not learned a lot about, airway and esophagus. So, of course, the big thing is we just wanted you all to know what's going on. Obviously we know how much you care and love, Miguel, and we don't have anything that we're asking of you all other than just continue to love and support him. We will kind of be in and out of our normal activities, given the fact that these things need to go very quickly. And, just wanted to share kind of this very important news with all of you all, and, tell you that we love Miguel and that we will continue to fight for him and do everything that we think is needed to help him live his best life, because he is absolutely amazing and deserves to not be in pain and not struggle as much as he has. So with that, thank you so much. Love you guys.